So cash flow determination. Okay, cash flow determination. Actually, this is the advancement what you had learned in FIN 430, Introduction to Corporate Finance. So if you still remember, under capital budgeting, the chapter in capital budgeting, okay. So in the capital budgeting, let me show here. Okay, let's say uh, capital budgeting is a decision whether you want to buy or not to buy several particular assets, or decision whether you want to invest or not to invest on certain project. Okay, so for example, let's say, okay, so this is uh, cost of the machine is 500,000. Okay, the cash flow for year one for the machine, the cash flow year one is 25,000. Year two is 40,000. Okay. So under capital budgeting, what you had learned last semester, okay, before you want to buy this machine, this is a machine, okay, example for the machine A. Okay, so this machine, your company want to replace the new machine, to replace the old machine with the new one. Okay, and the cost of this machine is 500,000. Okay, cost here 500,000. So before you make a decision to buy this machine A, so you need to evaluate based on its net present value, internal rate of return, discounted period, payback period, and profitability index (PI). Okay, these are some of the evaluation that you need to do before you make decision whether you want to buy or not to buy this machine. Okay, so for capital budgeting, okay, all of the cash flow for the machine or the cash flow for the particular asset is already given. For example, year one 250,000. Okay, in year two is 400,000. The, the value is already given to you. So there is no problem for you. Just key in all the figures and then find out for the NPV, IRR, and so on. Whereas in this chapter, okay, cash flow determination. So chapter 5 and chapter 6 again, why I combine this chapter, because actually this chapter 5 and chapter 6 we are talking about the same thing, about the cash flow determination. Okay, in the new syllabus, this chapter 5 and chapter 6, they are combined into one chapter, but for the new syllabus, PIN 544, they had split. Okay, chapter 5 dan chapter 6, but actually we are discussing about the same thing. That's why I combine terus. Okay, so for the cash flow determination in this chapter, okay, we are going to determine what will be the cash flow for this project. Okay, year 1 cash flow dia berapa, year 2 dia berapa. So this is what we are going to do for today lah. Dan ini. Nama lagi cash flow determination. Cash flow determination, so that means you need to identify what will be the cash flow for this particular project. After you had identified this cash flow, then you need to calculate its net present value, internal rate of return. After that, barulah you can justify whether you want to buy or not to buy this particular asset. Okay, so again, for this chapter, what we are going to find, we want to find the net present value, internal rate of return, but at the first thing, you need to identify the cash flow of the project. So how to find this thing, cash flow? How to find the cash flow of the project? Okay, there are 4 elements, okay, that you need to know. Okay, which are, number 1 is based on the operating cash flow. Number 2 based on its net working capital. Number 3 is after tax salvage. The last one is the cost of the project. Okay, cost of the project ataupun capital spending. Okay, so there are 4 elements again. In order to determine the cash flow of the project, okay, you need to sum out all of these 4 elements, which are operating cash flow, initial net working capital, after tax salvage, and also the cost of the project. Okay, so now, okay, before we go further, alamak, minta tolong it's much better for each of you to use your ITM punya email address lah. Therefore, tak perlu I nak admit. You boleh automatically masuk dalam Google Meet ni. I tak perlu nak, apa tu, tak perlu nak dapatkan permission from me. Kalau tak, bila kita buat kelas, nanti I kena admit, kena accept dulu kan. Okay, this one. Okay. So, before, okay, we proceed before we want to construct the cash flow of the project, the first thing is we need to know what are the relevant cash flow that should be incurred in order to calculate the NPV IRR for this project. Okay, so this thing we call is the relevant cash flow, the cash flow that should be included in the capital budgeting. So again, what you mean by capital budgeting? Capital budgeting, decision whether you want to invest or not to invest on that certain project, or decision whether you want to buy or you want to purchase a certain asset or not. Okay, how you want to make decision based on the net present value IRR, mostly based on the two things lah. Okay, the cash flow that should be included in a capital budget analysis are those that will only occur if the project is accepted. These cash flow are called incremental cash flow. So in order to determine the cash flow for the project, okay, we only consider the incremental cash flow. So what are the incremental cash flow? The incremental cash flow, okay, incremental cash flow refers to the cash flow that only relevant with the existing of the project. Okay. So for example, these are the difference between incremental and non-incremental cash flow. Okay. So for example, okay, then what it mean by incremental cash flow? Incremental cash flow refers to the cash flow that only exists, okay, when you want to buy that particular asset. Okay, so what are the costs that involved? What are the cash flow involved? Okay, for example, we are talking about incremental, right? For example, okay, you want to buy this machine. The cost of the machine is 500,000. So the incremental cash flow that involved with this capital budgeting, number one, definitely about the cost of the machine. Cost 500,000. Cost 500,000 ini adalah incremental cash flow. Because of what? If you do not want to buy this machine, therefore you do not pull out your cash, okay, with the amount 500,000. Okay, so therefore this 500,000 is the incremental cash flow. Okay, and then this is, let's say this is machine A. Okay. What are the other costs that relate with this machine? Okay, for example, currently in your building or in your company, nobody know about how to handle this kind of machine. Okay, because this is a very new machine, okay, with the new technology and so on, and therefore you need to hire a specialized workers, okay, someone who very that have specialty on how to handle this machine A, okay, and the cost of hiring that special workers cost is 10,000, for example. Okay, so that 10,000 we consider it as incremental cash flow. So why 10,000 incremental cash flow? Because kalau if you not buy this machine, so you do not need to pay that 10,000. Okay, but in this case, since you will buy this machine A, okay, so nobody know about how to handle this machine. Therefore, you will pay for the cost of that workers. Okay, so you need to pay 10,000, and that 10,000 is the incremental cash flow. Okay, then another one, apa lagi yang berkenaan? Okay, let's say the machine is you need some space, okay, to locate your machine. Dekat kilang you tu dah penuh dah, tak ada tempat dah nak letak. Therefore, you need to rent a new building, okay, ataupun you need to rent a new land, specifically to place out your machine. And the cost of the rental, the land rental ke building rental ke, the rental cost, katalah 50,000. Banyak now pula kan, tapi itu contoh. Okay, so the rental cost is 50,000. So that 50,000 is the incremental cash flow. Okay, another example, apa lagi? Contohnya, okay, this machine, the lifespan of the machine is 2 years. And then after 2 years, we predict that we can sell the machine with sangat nombor 50 kan. At the end of 2 years, at the end of the machine life, okay, we predict that we can sell the machine at the 50,000 ringgit pada tahun kedua. Maksudnya, the salvage value of the machine 50,000. So that 50,000, we call it as the incremental cash flow. Okay, so that is the incremental and non-incremental cash flow. So I hope you dah faham dah maksud incremental and non-incremental cash flow. Sekarang
Megan nak tanya,
ya.
kalau kos untuk apa survey dia, maknanya kena setiap bulan kena baiki, itu dikira tak incremental?
Yes, itu dikira. Kita akan kira dia sebagai yearly lah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so ini contohnya non-incremental, contohnya sunk cost. Sunk cost that have already occurred. Cost that have already occurred in your company, for example, apa dia macam rental, okay, lepas tu pula advertising, whether you buy that machine or not buy, every month ataupun every year, there is a cost for the advertising fee. So benda itu tidak dikira sebagai incremental. So that kind of cost we consider it as non-incremental cash flow. Opportunity cost. So opportunity cost this is without benefit. For example, ini contoh yang paling senang lah, 500,000. Okay, you have 500,000. So currently you have an option whether you want to buy the machine with the cost of 500,000 ataupun you can invest this 500,000 buy another share in the Bursa Malaysia or so on kan, in the financial market apa semua. So this 500,000, okay, we call this as the opportunity loss cost. Okay, so itu dikira sebagai incremental cash flow. The side effect, sales loss as a result launching a new product. Okay, the side effect, this is incremental cash flow. Okay, so for example, sales loss as a result launching a new product. Contohnya bila you ada ini PS3, PS4, sekarang dah PS5. Sorry. Okay, so when the company had launched the PS5, so the sales of the PS4 will slightly drop. That side effect we consider as the incremental cash flow. The change in net working capital. Change in net working capital, the net working capital, how much money need to use or invest in net working capital of the project. So this is about, ni nanti kita akan discuss details lah about net working capital. For example, for this project, the company need net working capital 50,000. Okay, so this net working capital considered as incremental cash flow. Okay, and then financing cost. The financing cost is non-incremental cash flow. This is not incremental cash flow because financing cost, this is referred to the cost cash flow to the creditor, not to the asset. Okay, contohnya kalau kita letak, okay, 500,000, this one 500,000, this 500,000, this is incremental cash flow. But in order to get this 500,000, your company need to borrow with bank CIMB, for example, with CIMB bank with the interest 4%. So 4%, okay, 20,000 interest here, that interest is not considered as the incremental cash flow because of the kata that interest refer to the financing cost and it is refer to the cost cash flow for creditor. Macam tu. Okay. So yang ni nanti tengoklah an expenditure. Okay, so let me do it together. For example, this one, an expenditure of 1.2 billion on equipment that has not yet been made up and will be made only if the project is accepted. So yang ni you rasa incremental or non-incremental? Incremental or non-incremental? Incremental ni apa? Incremental cash flow ni apa?
Kos-kos yang berkait untuk accept satu projek.
Yes. Okay, so ada aspek 1.25 million tu apa dia?
Ya, itu incremental.
Incremental. Ni Haikal ni kenapa stuck macam ni? Haikal ni dia stuck ke apa tu? I remove dia dulu takut dia. Haikal, hello, ada ke tak? Okay, ada. Alright. So number one is incremental cash flow. Number two, cost of research and development amounting to 100,000. Okay. Number two ni, cost of research and development amounting to 100,000 undertaken in connection with the product during the past 4 years. So yang ini incremental or non-incremental cash flow? Ni. This 200,000 ni dah buat baru ke ataupun buat lama?
Lama.
Okay, so incremental ke non-incremental?
Incremental.
Okay, kalau incremental tadi kita recall balik. Incremental cash flow ni apa? Incremental cash flow ni apa?
Semua kos yang berkait untuk ambil satu projek.
Projek tu projek baru ke projek lama?
Baru.
Projek baru. So that means any new project, any cost that relate with that new project, okay, itu adalah incremental cash flow. Okay, tapi sekarang ni for this 200,000 refer to the R&D cost, yang ni dia dah buat lama kan? Therefore this is incremental or non-incremental cash flow?
Non-incremental.
Non-incremental because of what? Whether you beli mesin ke tak beli mesin ke, R&D ni memang dah ada. Okay, so this is non-incremental cash flow. Dividend payment by the company, incremental ke ataupun non-incremental? Dividend payment. Recall balik, bila you nak jawab tu ingat balik. Incremental ni apa? Oh, incremental ni adalah any cost that relate with the new project. So dividend ni incremental ke non-incremental? Non-incremental. Okay. Lepas tu pula kita ada the resale value of machinery at the end of the project life. The resale value. Kita beli mesin tu, lepas tu nanti pada tahun akhir dia kita dapat jual. Contohnya macam kereta lah kan, kita beli 7 tahun, tahun ke-7 tu kita nak jual. Dia ada nilai lagi. Okay, so that we call as the resale value. So yang ni incremental or non-incremental cash flow?
Incremental.
Incremental. Salary of the employee who will only be employed if the project is accepted. Kalau ada projek tu, barulah kita akan ambil pekerja ni, baru bayar dia. So this is salary, ini incremental or non-incremental? Incremental. Land the firm owns that will be used for the project but otherwise will be sold for 900,000 its market value. So this one incremental ataupun non-incremental?
Incremental.
This is we call as opportunity cost. Okay, yang bagi contoh tadi. Okay. So kita dah tahu dah incremental and non-incremental cash flow. So now again go back to this first slide. So kalau nak dapatkan cash flow, this one, in order to determine the cash flow, okay, there are 4 things that are very important, which are operating cash flow, net working capital, after tax, salvage, capital spending. So yang paling senang capital spending ni adalah cost lah, senang nak cakapkan. So this is cost of the project.
Mary tak tunjuk slide.
Tak tunjuk slide? Dari tadi lagi saya tak tunjuk ke apa?
Adalah 3 minit.
Baru terkeluar tadi.
Okay ni. So this is cost of the project. Okay, so cost of the project. So for example, the project, yang ni, project ni 3 tahun. This is present value, current year. This is year 1, year 2 and year 3. Okay, number 1, benda yang paling penting in order to calculate your total cash flow, number 1 is operating cash flow. OCF stand for operating cash flow. So for the operating cash flow, okay, yang ni operating cash flow kita ada whether you use the tax shield approach, okay. Okay, this one, sorry. So OCF, the top-down approach, ataupun you pakai bottom-up approach, top-down approach or the tax shield approach. So normally kita akan pakai these two lah. Okay, kita akan pakai yang ini, bottom-up and tax shield approach. These two. It depends on the question. Okay, if the question gives you information about the EBIT, okay, or the operating income, okay, so you, in order to find the OCF, you will use this formula. Okay, otherwise, if the question gives you the information on the company's sales cost or the cost saving or about the price per unit, quantity per unit, so we will use this formula. Okay, the last one is top-down approach, sales cost and tax blah blah blah. This is a very rare. So far tak pernah lagi lah kita pakai benda ni because this is not in depreciation. Okay. So I actually either you use number 1 or number 3, either you use the bottom up or tax shield approach. Actually these two methods we follow the income statement, are generated from our income statement, because the income statement dapat sales, cost of goods sold, variable cost, fixed cost, depreciation, we get the operating profit EBIT less with tax, net income, depreciation. So actually we get these two formula, okay, bottom up or tax shield approach from our profit and loss statement. This one. Okay, so number 1, OCF ada 4 benda Remember there are 4 elements in order to find your cash flow. Number 1 is OCF, operating cash flow. So for the operating cash flow, how to calculate operating cash flow? Okay, either you use the bottom up approach or tax shield approach. Macam mana kita nak tahu bottom up ataupun tax shield? So later kita akan buat exercise, you akan tengok lah. Okay, at what condition we will apply this method, at what condition you will apply this method. Okay, then OCF. Okay, number 2, kita akan tengok pasal, okay, patah balik sini. OCF dah settle. So again, how to find OCF? Either we use the bottom up or tax shield approach. Number 2 is about net working capital. For the net working capital, okay, so this is net working capital. We kata if initial net working capital negative, net working capital recovery will be positive. Changes in net working capital, so recall back sources and uses of funds. Okay. So for the net working capital here, net working capital dekat sini, tunjuk je dekat sini ya. So the net working capital, so it depend on the question, okay, for the net working capital, you tengok. For the net working capital, kalau dalam soalan itu, dia cuma sebut sekali sahaja on the value for the net working capital. Okay, so there is no item for the change in net working capital. Okay, for example, in the question they mention about for this project, okay, the company required 50,000 for the net working capital. So the keyword is require 50,000. So that 50,000 sekarang ni cash inflow ke ataupun cash outflow? Company memerlukan 50,000 initial net working capital. Okay, company memerlukan 50,000. So itu adalah inflow ke ataupun cash outflow?
Inflow.
Inflow ni apa? Duit masuk ke duit keluar?
So,
Duit
Dia masuk.
Okay, outflow, cash outflow,
Wow.
duit keluar. So when the company required 50,000, that means the company need to cash out their money. So therefore, itu adalah cash outflow. Remember, cash outflow, duit keluar. Company require 50,000. So that means company kena keluarkan 50,000 sebagai permulaan untuk projek tu. So kalau dia cakap sekali je net working capital. Then so the initial net working capital here negative 50,000. Let's say this is 50,000 negative. How you know negative? Based on the word given lah, based on the information given. So bila sini initial this is negative 50,000, the net working capital recovery, okay, at the end of the project, let's say the project will be for the 3 years. So at the end of the project, kita akan recover balik duit yang kita keluar. Banyak mana kita keluar? 50,000, we cash out And then at year 3, which is at the end of the project, we will get back that 50,000. Okay, itu the net working capital recovery and initial net working capital. Okay, so another example, kalau dia kata dekat you, this project will save company net working capital, will save 50,000 of the company net working capital. Okay, this project will save 50,000 for the for the company net working capital. So word dekat situ dapat menjimatkan company punya net working capital sebanyak 50,000. So that word refer to the cash inflow or cash outflow? Kalau company
Inflow.
dapat menjimatkan inflow. Okay, company dapat menjimatkan 50,000. Maksudnya duit akan masuk dekat poket kita. Kalau company memerlukan kena keluar duit 50,000, maksudnya cash keluar daripada poket dia, so itu adalah negatif. So macam contoh tadi tu, company dapat jimat 50,000, so initial net working capital here will be positive. Initial 0 is the initial here, 50,000. Okay, recovery bila sini 50,000 dia dapat jimatkan 50,000, at the end dekat sini dia akan jadi negatif 50,000. So sebenarnya net working capital ni dia kena balance. Kalau awal kita dapat masuk duit 50, akhir kena keluarkan duit. So at the end it will be 0. Kalau awal kita negatif 50,000, akhir sekali kita kena dapatkan positif 50,000. Okay, so this is initial net working capital. For the change in net working capital, kejap lagi kita akan buat. Okay, change in net working capital ni, net working capital is mentioned several times. Dia kata year 1 net working capital 56,000, year 2 60,000, year 3 70,000. Dia ada mention the net working capital apa orang kata few times. Okay, for the all over the project life, project tu akan ada incurred with the net working capital. So, you akan ada change in net working capital. Kalau yang ni pula, cuma ada sekali sahaja net working capital. So, kalau disebut sekali je net working capital, so you cuma akan ada value for the initial net working capital and net working capital recovery. Okay, so far adakah anda faham? Kita dah hampir dah 2 ni. Okay, ni kita dah discuss. Okay, boleh faham ke tak faham?
Faham ada.
Okay, thank you Pak. Kalau you tak faham pun tak apalah kan. Tak faham bukan tak apa. Tapi nanti bila kita buat exercise kejap lagi you faham lah. Okay. So this is after tax salvage. Okay, the third one is the after tax salvage. So what you mean by after tax salvage? So after tax salvage, contohnya macam ni. Okay, I kata tadi at the end of the project, okay, cost machine ni 500,000. At the end, okay, end value of the machine RM, minta maaf lah kan, tak tahu kenapa suka sangat 50,000 sekarang. Okay, so end value of the machine is expected to be 50,000. So this 50,000 is the salvage value. Okay, so this salvage value, ada salvage value, kita kena bagi tax dekat government. Sebab tu dalam ni, you kena ambil after tax salvage value. Okay, so again, what you mean by the salvage value? Salvage value itu adalah nilai akhir mesin tersebut. Okay, so dalam ini dia cerita dia cakap macam ni. Okay, salvage value here, SVT symbol for the salvage value. For the salvage value, after tax salvage, okay, there are two formula. MV stand for the market value. MV less with the difference between the market value with the salvage value. SV is salvage value times with T altogether times with tax. T is the tax, or you can apply SV1 less T. So at what condition we will use this formula and what condition that we will apply this formula? Okay, so it depends on the question lah. Okay, information given. Okay. Kalau dalam soalan, okay, the question only mention about one value. Okay, dia bagi satu je. Contohnya dia kata, okay, at the end of the project, The machine estimated to be valued at 50,000. So, ni cuma mention sekali saja. Cost of the machine tadi tu cost dia berapa? Cost of the machine is RM500,000. Ni memang tak berebut dengan orang. So, it would be worth of with RM50,000. So, this 50,000 is 50,000. Okay, and then the salvage value of the project is 30,000. Okay, 30,000. So dia bagi you ada dua value dekat sini. Okay, so you nampak ada dua value, 50,000, 30,000. So in order to find after tax salvage, we will use this formula. Again, for the after tax salvage, we have two formula. Whether you use MV less, the difference between MV and SV, where the MV is the market value, SV is the salvage value, or we will apply this formula, this simple formula. Okay, so you akan pakai formula yang panjang ni, ada market value, when there are two value given. Okay, value for the end of the project, dia ada bagi dua. You akan pakai formula yang pendek ini bila ada satu sahaja value yang dia bagi. Okay, so this is the after tax salvage. Alright, so actually bila kita dah cari dah benda-benda tu semua, OCF ni kita dah cari total cash flow dalam soalan. Okay, the question will ask you to find evaluating cost cutting proposal. For the evaluating cost cutting proposal, this is whether to upgrade existing facility to make them more cost effective. So the decision is based on NPV, net present value, and IRR. So in order to find net present value and IRR, the first thing you need to determine the cash flow of the project. Benda ni dulu kita kena cari. So how to find cash flow? Nak dapatkan benda ni macam mana? The amount for the cash flow. Okay, based on the four elements which are operating cash flow, net working capital, and then after tax salvage, the last one is based on the cost of the project. Empat benda. Then kita dapatlah cash flow. Okay, bila dapat cash flow, you bolehlah kira that present value ataupun IRR. Alright. Then the question might ask you to find the price for the project. This is what we call as the setting the bid price. The setting bid price actually you want to determine this one, P, price of the project. P dia ni berapa? Okay. So we rearrange this formula. Operating cash flow kita akan cari nanti. Rearrange this formula and then find P kat situ. Okay, itu nombor 2. Okay. Number 3 pula, dia akan cari evaluating equipment option with different life, EAC. So the EAC to choose cost effective based on equivalent annual cost. So this is the decision is made based on the annual cost of the project. Okay, annual cost of the project, for example. Okay, so this is machine A, machine B. Okay, so we have machine B. So machine A, 500,000. Machine B, 550,000. So yang ni cost A and B, 500 500 and 550,000. You nak tahu mesin ni 2 tahun je kan? So among these 2 years, by referring to this cost, you will find equivalent annual cost. That means the exact cost for this machine for year 1 berapa, year 2 berapa. Tu kita kata equivalent annual cost. So when we talk about cost, okay, decision making, kita akan ambil yang paling lowest cost. Okay. So now kita akan buat hari ini evaluating cost cutting proposal dulu. Okay.